This will change how you see yourself forever. The Stoic philosophy for inner peace and discipline. You have been seeing yourself through other people's eyes your entire life, and it has been costing you everything. Not some things, not a few opportunities. Everything. The peace you have been searching for, the discipline you have been trying to build, the version of yourself that you can feel exists but that keeps receding every time you get close to it. The life that feels genuinely yours rather than a performance assembled from other people's expectations and other people's definitions of who you are supposed to be. All of it has been affected, shaped, limited, sometimes destroyed by the way you have been seeing yourself. And more specifically, by where that seeing has been coming from. Today that changes. Not because I am going to tell you to love yourself more. Not because we are going to do an affirmation exercise or build a vision board or construct a more flattering narrative about your past. But because we are going to go into the deepest, most honest, most philosophically rigorous examination of self-perception that the Stoic tradition has to offer. And by the time this video ends, you will have a completely different relationship with the question of who you are and where that answer is supposed to come from. The Stoics spent centuries working on this question, not as an abstract philosophical puzzle, as the most practical question a human being can ask, because they understood, with a precision that modern psychology is still catching up to, that the way you see yourself is the foundation of everything. Every decision you make, every relationship you enter, every act of discipline you attempt, every moment of peace you either find or fail to find. Change how you see yourself, and you change everything. Not eventually, not gradually, in small invisible increments that you notice only in retrospect. Everything. If you are new to this channel, welcome. We explore Stoic philosophy and human psychology at the deepest level and bring both into the real texture of your life. No surface-level content. No motivational filler. The real thing. Subscribe right now and hit the bell notification. We release these videos regularly, and every single one is built for people who are serious about understanding themselves. Subscribe now. Let us begin. 1. The mirror you have been using is broken. Before we can talk about how to see yourself clearly, we need to talk honestly about the mirror you have been using. Because the problem is not that you lack self-awareness. Most people who are drawn to this kind of content are more self-aware than average. The problem is not that you do not think about who you are. The problem is where you have been looking for the answer. From the earliest moments of human development, we learn to see ourselves through the eyes of other people. The parent who tells us we are smart or slow, capable or clumsy, lovable or difficult. The teacher who places us in a category and hands us a label that we carry for years before we think to question it. The peer group that tells us through 1,000 subtle signals where we rank, what we are worth, what kind of person we are in the social hierarchy. And then adulthood arrives, and the mirrors multiply. The performance review, the social media metric, the comparison with colleagues and peers, the opinion of the partner, the judgment of the family, the assessment of the culture about what constitutes a successful, valuable, worthy human being at this particular moment in history. We are surrounded by mirrors, and we have been looking into all of them, constantly, trying to assemble from their reflections a coherent picture of who we are. The Stoics identified this pattern with extraordinary clarity, and they called it by a specific name. They called it living according to opinion rather than living according to nature. Living according to opinion means making the external assessment, what other people think, what the culture values, what the social environment rewards, the primary source of your self-knowledge and your self-worth. And the Stoics were unambiguous about what this produces. Not peace, not genuine confidence, not the stable, grounded sense of self that makes disciplined, purposeful living possible. It produces what Epictetus called a slavery more complete than any physical bondage. Because the person enslaved to opinion is never free. Every day brings a new assessment, a new comparison, a new opportunity for the external mirror to show something unflattering. And every unflattering reflection produces a new crisis of self-perception that must be managed, soothed, argued with, or suppressed. There is no peace in this. There cannot be, because the mirror is always moving. The opinions are always changing. The standards are always shifting. And the self that is defined by those opinions is always at the mercy of the next reflection. The Stoics had a different mirror, and it is the one we are going to spend this entire video learning to use. 2. The Stoic mirror, seeing yourself from the inside. The Stoic alternative to the broken mirror of opinion is not positive thinking. It is not the replacement of negative self-perception with positive self-perception. It is something far more radical and far more durable. It is the relocation of the source of self-knowledge from outside to inside. The Stoics taught that the only accurate mirror available to a human being is the one that reflects not how you appear to others, but what you actually are. Not your reputation, but your character. Not your performance, but your values. Not the assessment of the culture, but the honest accounting of your own rational nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." That fountain, that interior source of genuine self-knowledge, is what the Stoics were asking you to find. And the practice of finding it is not mystical. It is not beyond you. It is a specific, learnable, practicable discipline that the Stoics developed in extraordinary detail. It begins with one foundational distinction: the distinction between what you are and what has happened to you. This sounds simple. It is not, because the human mind, particularly the mind that has been using the external mirror for a long time, has collapsed these two things into each other. It has taken the experiences, the failures, the assessments, the wounds, the patterns, the labels accumulated over a lifetime, and treated them as evidence about what you fundamentally are. You failed at something, therefore you are a failure. Someone left, therefore you are unlovable. You struggled with discipline, therefore you are weak. You made a serious mistake, therefore you are defined by that mistake. The Stoics reject every one of those equations, not because the experiences are not real. They are real. Not because the failures and the wounds and the mistakes do not matter. They do matter, but they are not you. They are things that happened, events that occurred, circumstances that you encountered, and the person who encountered them. The rational, capable, value-holding human being underneath all of those events is something that none of those events can define, damage, or destroy. Epictetus made this point with characteristic directness. He had been enslaved. His body had been literally owned by another person. His external circumstances were as constrained as human circumstances can be. And he looked at those circumstances and said, "These are not me. They are what happened to me. And what I am, my rational nature, my capacity for virtue, my inner response to my circumstances, that is mine. Entirely, permanently, regardless of what the external world does." That distinction between what you are and what has happened to you is the foundation of the Stoic mirror. And learning to see yourself through that distinction rather than through the collapsed version that external mirrors produce is the beginning of genuinely changing how you see yourself forever. 3. The 4 Stoic practices for seeing yourself clearly. Understanding the Stoic mirror intellectually is the beginning. Using it is the practice. And the Stoics left us 4 specific practices for developing the capacity to see ourselves through the interior mirror rather than the broken external one. Practice 1. The daily character audit. The first practice is the one we have touched on in previous videos on this channel, but that deserves its full treatment here in the context of self-perception specifically. Every evening, before sleep, you conduct a character audit, not a performance review. Not an assessment of what you produced or achieved or accomplished. A character audit, an honest examination of the quality of the person you were today, not compared to other people, not measured against cultural standards of success, measured against your own values, against the four cardinal virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, that the Stoics considered the only genuine standards for evaluating a human life. Ask, where did I act with wisdom today? Where did I see clearly, make good decisions, distinguish what genuinely mattered from what merely seemed urgent? And where did I fail to see clearly? Where did distortion or habit or fear govern my perception rather than genuine rational assessment? Ask, where did I act with courage today? Where did I do the right thing when the easier thing was available? And where did I choose convenience over integrity? Where did I defer the difficult thing again? Ask, where did I act with justice today? Where did I treat the people around me with genuine fairness and genuine care? And where did I take more than was mine, or give less than I genuinely had to offer? Ask, where did I act with temperance today? Where did I remain myself, grounded in my genuine values, ungoverned by impulse or excess? And where did I lose myself to reaction, to comfort-seeking, to the automatic patterns that are not genuinely mine? This practice changes how you see yourself because it replaces the broken external mirror with a consistent internal one. Instead of assembling your self-image from the day's reactions and assessments and comparisons, you are building it from your own honest examination of your own genuine character. And here is what happens over time when you do this consistently. You stop being surprised by yourself. The person who does not examine themselves is constantly being blindsided by their own behavior, by reactions they did not anticipate, by patterns they did not recognize, by the gap between who they believe they are and how they actually behave under pressure. The examined person knows themselves. The surprises diminish. The self-knowledge deepens. And from that deepening self-knowledge comes something that no external mirror can produce. Genuine self-respect, not confidence in the shallow sense of believing you are better than other people, but the specific, grounded, stable sense of knowing who you are and trusting that knowledge because it has been built through honest examination rather than through flattering comparison. Practice 2, the separation of judgment from fact. The second practice is the one that most directly addresses the mechanism by which the external mirror corrupts self-perception, and it requires a specific intellectual discipline that the Stoics called the examination of impressions. Every impression that arises in your mind about yourself, every thought, every assessment, every narrative about who you are and what you are worth, is a candidate for this examination. The examination consists of one question: is this a fact or is this a judgment? A fact is something that can be observed and verified independent of interpretation. I did not complete the project on time. I raised my voice in that conversation. I have not exercised in 3 weeks. These are facts. A judgment is the interpretation layered onto the fact. I am lazy. I am out of control. I am undisciplined. I am a failure. I am not good enough. These are judgments. And judgments, especially the automatic, habitual, self-directed ones that most people carry without examining, are not facts. They are interpretations. They are the broken external mirror's translation of specific events into global assessments of the self. The Stoic practice is to separate these two things with complete precision, to see the fact clearly and to refuse the automatic jump to the global judgment. I did not complete the project on time. That is the fact. What does it mean? It might mean I underestimated the scope. It might mean I had competing priorities that were legitimately more urgent. It might mean I have a pattern with this kind of deadline that deserves examination. Any of these interpretations might be accurate, and any of them points towards specific, useful learning. But I am a failure is none of those things. It is a global label applied to the whole person on the basis of one specific event. It is the broken mirror doing what broken mirrors do, distorting a specific, limited, factual event into a sweeping verdict on the fundamental worth of the person who experienced it. The Stoic discipline is to refuse that distortion. Every time, not with denial, the fact is acknowledged fully, but with precision, the judgment is examined, challenged, and either replaced with a more accurate interpretation or released entirely. This practice, done consistently, does not just change how you see specific events. It changes the entire architecture of your self-perception, because the global self-assessments that most people carry, the ones that limit their sense of what they are capable of, that make discipline feel impossible, that make inner peace feel permanently out of reach. Almost all of them are judgments built from the distorted translation of specific events. See the events clearly, refuse the distorted translations, and watch the architecture of your self-perception begin to rebuild itself on something that is actually real. Practice 3. The practice of the view from above. The third practice is one of the most distinctly Stoic and one of the most powerful for changing self-perception at a fundamental level. The Stoics called it the view from above, the deliberate adoption of a perspective so large, so temporally and spatially expansive, that the self and its immediate concerns are seen in their genuine proportion against the full scale of what is real. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He would deliberately zoom out. In his imagination, in the contemplative practice he returned to again and again in the Meditations, to a perspective from which the Roman Empire was a small feature on the surface of a small planet in an incomprehensibly vast universe. And from that perspective, the crisis of the day, the insult received, the plan frustrated, the fear about what others thought, was revealed in its genuine scale, which was very small. Always, against the full perspective, the things that loom largest in the contracted view of daily life are revealed as genuinely minor. Applied to self-perception, this practice does something extraordinary. When you are inside the contracted view, when you are close up against your own failures and your own patterns and your own assessments of your inadequacy, those things fill the entire frame. They are all there is. They feel permanent, defining, final. When you zoom out, when you take the view from above, several things happen simultaneously. The failures become specific events in a long life that contains far more than those events. The patterns become habits that can be changed by the same human being who developed them. The assessments of other people become the momentary opinions of specific individuals operating from their own limited perspective, carrying their own unexamined wounds, seeing you through the distorted lens of their own self-perception rather than through any objective truth about who you are. And the self, the genuine self, the rational human being underneath all of the events and patterns and assessments, is revealed as something that is genuinely larger than all of those things. Something that has survived every difficulty encountered so far. Something that is still here, still capable, still holding within it the full human potential that no accumulation of experience can permanently extinguish. The view from above is not spiritual bypassing. It is not the dismissal of genuine difficulty as unimportant. It is the accurate proportioning of difficulty against the full scale of what you are and what your life contains. And from that accurate proportion comes something that the contracted view can never produce: perspective. And from perspective, peace. Practice 4. The daily commitment to virtue as identity. The fourth practice is the one that ties everything together and that produces the most durable change in self-perception over time. It is the daily, deliberate, conscious identification of yourself not with your outcomes, not with your performance, not with the assessments of others, but with your commitment to virtue. The Stoics made this the foundation of their entire self-concept. Marcus Aurelius did not primarily identify himself as an emperor. He identified himself as a person committed to wisdom, to courage, to justice, to temperance. The empire was his circumstance. The virtue was his identity. Epictetus did not primarily identify himself as a former enslaved man, as a philosopher, as a teacher. He identified himself as a person committed to the proper use of the rational faculty, to examining his impressions, to choosing his responses, to living in accordance with his genuine nature. When you shift your primary self-identification from your outcomes and your performance to your commitment to virtue, the entire architecture of your self-perception changes. Because outcomes and performance are not fully in your control. They depend on circumstances, on other people's decisions, on the timing of the market, on factors you cannot govern. And when your identity is built on things you cannot fully control, your sense of who you are is perpetually at the mercy of those uncontrollable factors. A bad outcome threatens your identity. A failed performance shakes your sense of self. The negative assessment of someone whose opinion you have given power to can destabilize you in ways that take days or weeks to recover from. But your commitment to virtue, your decision, daily and deliberately renewed, to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in the specific circumstances you encounter today, that is entirely in your control. Always, in every circumstance, regardless of what the world does. The Stoics called this the one true freedom. The freedom of the person who has located their identity in the one place that can never be taken, never be shaken, never be contingent on the world's cooperation. Their own rational nature, their own commitment to virtue, their own daily decision to be, as Marcus Aurelius put it, the kind of person that the universe intended a human being to be. Build your identity there. In the commitment, not the outcome. In the virtue, not the performance. In what you genuinely are, not in what the broken external mirror is reflecting back at you on any given day. And watch how seeing yourself from that foundation changes everything. 4. Inner peace as the result of clear self-seeing. I want to talk about inner peace specifically, because it is in the title of this video, and because it is the thing that most people who are drawn to Stoic philosophy are actually searching for, even when they do not name it that way. The inner peace the Stoics described, the tranquility they called ataraxia, is not the absence of difficulty. It is not the elimination of challenge or pain or loss or the full complexity of human experience. The Stoics were not promising a life without those things. They were too honest for that. What they were describing is a specific quality of inner stability, a groundedness in your own values and your own self-knowledge that makes the inevitable difficulties of life something you can navigate without being destroyed by them. A quality of being at home in yourself, genuinely, stably, durably at home, that does not depend on circumstances being favorable or on other people's treatment of you being kind. And they were unambiguous about where this quality comes from. It comes from seeing yourself clearly. The person who does not see themselves clearly is permanently vulnerable to the world's assessment of them. Every negative judgment is a potential identity crisis. Every failure is a potential confirmation of the worst things they fear about themselves. Every comparison that comes out unfavorable is a wound that takes energy to manage and time to recover from. The person who sees themselves clearly, who knows, through honest daily examination, what they are actually made of, has a completely different relationship with the world's assessment. When the negative judgment arrives, they can examine it honestly. Is there something true in this? If yes, they receive it as useful information and act on it. If no, they acknowledge it, decline to internalize it, and move forward. Not defensively, not with the wounded pride of someone whose false self-image has been challenged, with the calm clarity of someone who knows themselves well enough to evaluate external feedback accurately. When the failure arrives, it is a specific event with specific causes that deserve specific examination, not evidence of fundamental unworthiness, not confirmation of the broken mirror's darkest reflections. A specific event, with specific lessons, that a specific person, a person they know, a person they trust, a person they have been building through consistent honest practice, is capable of learning from and moving through. When the comparison arrives, and in the modern world it always arrives, the person who sees themselves clearly does not need the comparison to resolve in their favor, because their sense of who they are is not built from comparison. It is built from self-knowledge. And self-knowledge is not a competitive sport. It does not require you to be better than someone else. It only requires you to be genuinely yourself. That is inner peace, not the absence of difficulty. The presence of a stable, grounded, honestly built self-knowledge that makes difficulty navigable without destroying you. The Stoics built it through practice, through the daily examination, through the separation of fact from judgment, through the view from above, through the daily commitment to virtue as identity. And it is available to you, starting today, starting with the decision to stop using the broken external mirror and to begin building the honest interior one. 5. Discipline as the expression of self-knowledge. I want to address discipline specifically because it is the other major promise of this video, and because the connection between self-perception and discipline is one that most people have never fully understood. Most approaches to building discipline treat it as a willpower problem. You know what you should do. You lack the willpower to do it consistently. The solution is more willpower, stronger motivation, better habits, more accountability, a more effective system. The Stoics would look at that framework and say, you are treating the symptom. The real issue is deeper. Consistent discipline, the kind that does not require constant external motivation, that does not collapse under pressure, that persists through the difficult days and the unmotivated days and the days when every comfort is available and the right thing is hard. That kind of discipline is not primarily a willpower phenomenon. It is an identity phenomenon. You do not consistently do what you know you should do. You consistently do what you believe you are. The behaviors that are most stable in your life are the ones that are most deeply integrated into your sense of who you are. The person who sees themselves as fundamentally undisciplined does not need a better habit system. They need a different self-perception, because the self-perception is governing the behavior at a level that the habit system cannot reach. The Stoics understood this with precision. The practice of daily virtue, the daily commitment to acting from your genuine rational nature, is not just a moral practice. It is an identity-building practice. Every act of genuine discipline, every choice of the right thing over the convenient thing, every morning examination completed, every judgment examined before being accepted, each of these is a vote for a specific self-perception. The self-perception of a person who does what they said they would do, who keeps their commitments to themselves, who treats their own values with the same seriousness they expect others to treat their commitments. And this self-perception compounds. Every act of genuine discipline that confirms it makes the next act of discipline slightly more natural. Not because willpower has increased, but because the identity has been reinforced. Because the answer to the question of who I am has shifted, incrementally but really, in the direction of the person who acts with discipline. The Stoics called this moral progress, prokope. And they understood that it is not linear. It is not dramatic. It does not produce the sudden transformation that culture wants to sell you. It produces something better, something durable, the slow, consistent, genuine development of a character that disciplines naturally, because discipline has become an expression of who that character genuinely is. Change how you see yourself, and discipline becomes possible in a way that willpower alone can never produce. Because the person who knows themselves, who has built their self-knowledge through honest daily examination, who has located their identity in their commitment to virtue rather than in their performance outcomes, that person disciplines from the inside, not from the fear of consequence, not from the motivation of comparison, from the genuine expression of who they know themselves to be. That is the Stoic understanding of discipline. And it begins, always, with the mirror. You have been seeing yourself through other people's eyes your entire life. Through the broken external mirror that reflects not what you are, but how you appear. Not your character, but your performance. Not your genuine worth, but your ranking in a comparison that was never fair and whose standards were never genuinely yours. Today that changes. Not because you have been given a new set of flattering beliefs about yourself, but because you have been given the tools to build a genuine interior mirror. The daily character audit that builds honest self-knowledge. The separation of fact from judgment that stops the automatic distortion. The view from above that returns perspective when the contracted view is suffocating. And the daily commitment to virtue as identity that relocates the source of your self-worth from the uncontrollable world outside to the genuine rational nature inside. These tools work, not overnight, not dramatically, the way all genuine things work, through consistent practice, honest application, and the willingness to keep going on the days when the old mirror calls you back. Keep going. The person you find when you look through the honest interior mirror, the person who has been there all along underneath the accumulated assessments and the distorted translations and the broken reflections, that person is worth finding. They always were. If this video changed something in the way you see yourself, if it gave you language for something you have been experiencing without words, if it shifted the mirror even slightly towards something more honest and more genuinely yours, please share it with someone who needs it, with someone who has been using the broken mirror for too long. Leave a comment below telling me which of the 4 practices you are going to start with and what seeing yourself clearly would change in your specific life. I read every single comment, and I mean that genuinely. Subscribe to this channel right now if you have not already. Hit the bell notification. We release deep Stoic philosophy and psychology content regularly, and every video is built for people who are serious about the examined life. 3 seconds. Subscribe now. You have been seen by the world's mirror for long enough. It is time to see yourself. Thank you for being here. Take care of your minds. See you in our next video.